So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a beautiful sunny day for our Way Forward Leader lunch break. We are thrilled to welcome Victor Ruiz to the conversation. Victor serves as the Executive Director of Esperanza, a position he has held since 2010. Under his leadership, Esperanza has grown mightily to become a leader in addressing the educational needs of our growing Hispanic community. With his determination and passion, the Latinx high school graduation rate has grown from 30% when he took over the organization in 2010 to over 89% in 2021. These efforts were recently recognized when Victor and some folks from his team were honored in Washington for this amazing success. He provides wraparound services and annually awards $100,000 of scholarship to the deserving young people in his program. Victor was born in Puerto Rico. He came to Cleveland at the age of 5 with his mother and his brother, and he has attributed his success to the most inspirational person in his life, his mom. He's a graduate of Cleveland Public Schools, Baldwin Wallace, and a graduate degree from Cleveland State University, so he is a Clevelander through and through. He credits the efforts of public and nonprofit agencies with his success as a young person and his matriculation at Baldwin Wallace, for it was scholarships from then Greater Cleveland Scholarships and now College Now Greater Cleveland that made it possible. And that was his first job, giving back at College Now. He continues that deep commitment to enabling others to achieve similar success at Esperanza. He gives back mightily by serving as the past chair of the Cuyahoga County Community College, thank you, Tri-C, and on the executive committee of United Way. He was recently inducted into the Cleveland International Hall of Fame. He's been recognized by a Crain's Cleveland Power 150, one of the 500 most influential people in Cleveland, 40 under 40, and the list goes on and on. Welcome, Leadership Cleveland alum, Victor Ruiz.
Thank you, Marianne. Thanks for that intro. I'd actually love a copy of that. I don't know who wrote it, but I had the hardest time writing a bio for myself. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again, Marianne. Thank you, Rachel, and the rest of the Leadership Cleveland team for having me here. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll be brief, but before I go any further, I do have to acknowledge we have a team at Esperanza, and I have to acknowledge one of our team members, Laura Almazan, who's one of our board members, very active board member, who's been part of our success as well. And I don't know if she's on, but signed up was Jermaine Pena. If she's here, shout out to Jermaine as well, one of our star employees. So I will speak for about 10 minutes, and then hopefully there's questions. Esperanza means hope in Spanish. We were founded, next year will be our 40th anniversary. So we were founded 40 years ago by really a small group of community members who saw the growing Hispanic community and also the disconnect between the growing community and educational opportunities. They started literally with a $250 college scholarship that they raised and pooled money. And that scholarship fund grew over time. And, at that time, really the focus was promoting post-secondary education. But there was a realization into the organization's growth that just offering a scholarship was not enough. So we started adding high school programming, particularly mentoring, just to motivate and encourage more students to not only pursue post-secondary, but also help them graduate high school. And over time that has evolved, and I'll just kind of focus more on where we are today. We see ourselves as a true educational pipeline support system organization. So we now provide services to students starting in kindergarten through adult, and those services look from, again, wraparound services and after school programming to mentoring, academic support, tutoring, all in a bilingual, culturally competent manner, which is really important for us. We are primarily focused on the near west side of Cleveland. However, we're in 10 schools providing services. We also have a center on 25th and Clark where we provide services to the community. But we also recognize that the community is growing and moving. So we're starting to expand beyond the near west side, providing services to people where they're at. At our center on West 25th and Clark, it's where we really focus on our adult population. We talk about services provided for our students, but we also know that our students many times are only as successful as their family support systems. So we started providing services to parents many years ago. And those back then were helping parents understand their role as educators, advocates, helping them understand the academic and educational systems. But what we learned quickly is that if a parent is distracted because they don't have the supports that they need, be it employment, be it social, emotional, it's hard for them to really be engaged in their children's education. So we started providing direct services to parents as well. And over the years, that's evolved where we're doing English as a second language, probably our most popular program for adults. Over the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, digital literacy has really risen to the top as another really important. So we have 2 computer labs at our center that adults come and they can do self-directed education with an online program that we have. We also offer GED. GED is something newer for us, but what we were finding is that while the state of Ohio allows individuals to take the GED assessment in Spanish, there weren't really any organizations that were offering. So we found a solution, and now that's growing very rapidly. And also another resource that we're providing is because we are a trusted connector between the people that we serve and the general community. A lot of organizations come to us to really help connect. So we're connecting our community to a lot of employment opportunities, health-related opportunities. So we've really become this bridge in the community that, our staff has a hard time saying no. And of course, on the board side, there's that, hey, let's make sure we stick to our mission. So we're constantly reviewing and looking at how we can best support our community, and where we cannot fill a need, what are those impactful partnerships that we could bring in to be able to support. So that's the services to our adults. We serve our students K-12, primarily in the school district. And then at the post-secondary level, I share with you all historically, we started as a college scholarship program. And for decades, we were literally handing students a scholarship every year based on certain criteria, and then, asking them to reapply if they met other criteria. And what we realize is that, while finances is important, there's so many other factors to why students complete and graduate from a post-secondary institution. So we essentially took our holistic wraparound model that we had for high school students, and we just carried it on into college. And what we learned is that college students also need a lot of support. I'm sure all of you remember when you graduated and everyone said, hey, you're an adult now, you're on your own, and you had to figure it out. And what we've learned is that in some cases, our college students need more support than even our high school students. So as a result, we provide our students, again, with this wraparound case management model, ensuring that they understand how to navigate their institution, ensuring that they know how to tap into the resources that are available to them, creating a support system. So we work with them in cohorts while still providing that financial support. And a little bit about our scholarship. Our scholarship goes directly to the student. What we've learned is that many of our students' tuition is covered by a variety of means, be it federal aid, be it institutional scholarships. but there's a big gap as it relates to finances, transportation, equipment, food. There might be family obligations. So that direct payment to student can mean the difference in a lot of situations. So the way we actually fundraise every year for our scholarship dollars, and the community really takes a lot of ownership around that. We have a lot of individuals who create a scholarship in honor of their parents or a family member. And it's just a way to continue keeping the legacy of the organization and the legacy of families tied to each other and continuing our work. A couple other things before we turn it. I want to talk about just, the future of the organization and then some challenges that our community has that we're constantly addressing. So I shared with you all that the community is starting to not only grow in numbers, but also expand beyond the near west side of Cleveland. We're seeing more families moving into our southern inner ring suburbs as we see more upward mobility and the establishment of the Hispanic middle class. So, Brooklyn, Old Brooklyn, Parma is really starting to see growth, and also further west into parts of Cleveland, such as, West Park, Camps Corner area. And we're also starting to see growth on the east side. One of the things is after Hurricane Maria in 2017, there were hundreds of families brought to Cleveland. And because of the low numbers of housing availability on the west side, a lot of families were placed on the east side of Cleveland. So we're finding pockets of neighborhoods in Cleveland where in some cases there's hundreds of Puerto Rican individuals who are just starting, just establishing themselves in Cleveland. They have a very little connection to community and even less resources. So we're starting to be more proactive to identifying these communities, and again, through partnerships, bringing our services to them. And two examples, one a little further, but the city of Bedford Heights has actually seen a pretty significant growth in Hispanic families. So working with them to bring some services. And on the near east side, near Tri-C, there's a community called Arbor Park. There are 200 Puerto Ricans at Arbor Park. And we've been working with them to start identifying what needs they have, bringing services, and then helping them understand what Greater Cleveland has to offer. So as we look again at our future, is just basically taking our model and seeing, where else can we take our services? A couple other factors is obviously the growth of virtual and online opportunities. We learned that obviously through the pandemic. Many of our community members still want in person, but also we have a lot that are satisfied with doing self-directed learning, things on their own in a more virtual capacity. And from a challenge perspective, I think as our community continues to grow, Cleveland in general is slow to provide those, specifically those bilingual resources. I think, a lot of institutions, corporations, want to see the demand before they make the investment. And it's one of those, catch-22 where for us, we say, have the bilingual supports, have the translated materials, and families will come to you. So really, meeting that challenge of the growing community, ensuring that there are bilingual supports, ensuring that, there are bilingual supports all over the city so that, if you're Arbor Park or Bedford, you don't have to take multiple buses to come to the near west side to get what you need. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we're still facing as a community. And, the growth continues. We're seeing, every day there's more and more families. So for Greater Cleveland is an opportunity, but, we have to provide the resources in order to ensure that certain needs are met and that people stay here and can contribute to our long-term success. So I will stick to my time period, Rachel, and then open it up to questions.
Great, Victor. Thank you. So let's start with how do individuals learn about and access the services you provide?
So a variety of ways. We're in a very prominent part of the west side of Cleveland. West 25th and Clark is a very busy intersection, and in a very densely populated community in Cleveland. So we're very visible. I mentioned that we're in 10 schools. So a lot of times our introduction to families is through the students in a school building. And word of mouth is huge for us. We have a great reputation, and not just word of mouth from program participants, but also from partner organizations. Thank you, Letty. I see the note there, like Julia de Burgos or Spanish American Committee. We also have a very strong partnership with Cuyahoga Community College. We are their West Side Access Center. So the college is bringing their services and offerings to the community, and we are the location where it happens. So through that partnership as well.
A question around what types of programming might you offer that can help students assist with identifying challenges before they become issues or challenges that they really need to deal with? Because often you don't know what you don't know until you're in it and dealing with it.
Yeah, I think that's where the case management approach is really important. For us, we're constantly reaching out to students regardless of where they are in their journey. You could be a student who's, just having a hard time struggling, or you could be someone who's, you're doing well in school, you're on a good trajectory, but you still need that additional support. So I think, being open to everyone where they're at and reaching out to them, and then that case management approach, getting to know them, getting to know their families, understanding, building that trust, and then you get to understand, where they're doing well and where they may need. So really being able to, as a trusted partner with expertise, being able to kind of see what, in addition to what they're telling you, being able to also say, this is also what we think you need, and we can help you get there.
I'm curious, what are you seeing as you look out into the community as the biggest area of need for resources?
Well, I wouldn't be a good nonprofit executive if I didn't say money, right? um, there's a lot of couple things. There's a lot of funding coming through the nonprofits over the last few years as a result of the pandemic. As a result, we've been able to grow, expand, but we know there's a very short window on that funding. So I think, in being able to sustain that growth and being able to sustain those services to the growing demands is critical. And obviously funding is part of that. I think another need is, I started mentioning it earlier, as Cleveland becomes more and more internationally diverse. And I say internationally because, the Clark Fulton neighborhood, there's individuals from all over the world. One of our schools, International Newcomers Academy, there's over 30 languages spoken in that school. So as Cleveland continues to become diverse in a lot of different ways, we really need to build the bicultural, bilingual capacity. And I add bicultural because, you could understand a language, but if you don't have that sense of other cultures and how other cultures do things or want to be approached, there could be a big disconnect there. So in Cleveland, we really need to start building that biculturalism or multiculturalism and multilingual capabilities. And I know that organizations like Global Cleveland is doing a great job of really raising awareness around that, but we just need to continue that.
So as you look for your students to be transitioning to post-secondary, do you provide programming that might help their parents or guardians help them understand the mental shift that takes place as students transition from the K through 12 setting into that post-secondary space?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's there's also a cultural aspect, to that. One of our biggest one of the biggest roles we play is serving as that middle ground between the parent and the student, especially depending on, are you new to the country, how many generations you've been here, and matching the parents' expectations of you need to stay close to home so you can help with, I want to get out, I want to go as far away from home as possible, right? So yes, there's this approach that is really important, and it's not about convincing anyone to go either way. It's about having both sides hear each other's perspective, and sometimes that's really even getting to that point is difficult. So we do a lot of that, and it works out a lot of variety of different ways, but helping parents understand, I would even take it a step back, is that that the child, once they're an adult and they have to dictate the direction that they want their life to go. That's probably, because it could also be the parent wants them to go to college and the child does not want to go to college. That's also very common as well. So that is a big part of what we do with parents and families, is just helping everyone understand the pros and cons of all potential decisions, so that they can at least understand and hear each other.
And actually, kind of building off that idea of not everyone might be going to a four-year college, as conversations have shifted to more kind of trades and whatnot, how has your programming shifted to potentially help those students who may not be going to a 4-year or 2-year institution?
Yeah. So we've been, we are very conscious of that, and have been making shifts and adjustments for quite some time. I think over last year into this year, one of the biggest changes was done at our board level, where we changed our mission statement. Our mission statement was post-secondary focused. It was very, very clearly stated. But, we've shifted that to be more global around learning, and that, individuals need to dictate what learning means to them, and the direction and the process, and that we're their partners. So, as simple as that sounds, those of us in nonprofits know that, making mission statement changes is not an easy process, but fortunately, our board and our staff really saw what the community heard what the community needed, and the role we could play. So in our advising, in our counseling, in our connecting, we've expanded that to not just be post-secondary. It's also, what are the job opportunities out there? How can we help you become more workforce and career ready? Can we connect you to Tri-C, not just for an associate degree, but maybe also for a short-term certificate program? So we've really we've expanded our thinking and our process around that. And even with our high school students, where we were doing a lot of college visits, now we're doing a lot of workforce visits. Here's some employers where, here's RTA, if you don't want to go to college, you can make a great living. So you really just opening up ourselves to all the possibilities, and then ensuring that we connect our students to that.
There's been so much conversation around the impact on students from the past few years with the pandemic and the changes in school. And curious what you're seeing as some of the needs that our students are having coming out of the past few years, and how are you all working to help address those needs?
Yeah, and I think we're just starting to understand what the full impact was of the pandemic. For those of you who, are following the Nation's report card came out a couple of weeks ago, and we're just starting to see just the impact on learning nationally and across the country. We've seen, in many cases, just a lot of learning loss. And Cleveland, across the board, and especially with our younger students. So a lot of the progress that we've made as a community We've seen some of that regress. As we look at the current needs, I think one is, we knew there was a digital divide, but I think what we're learning is not just how big that divide was, but also how complex. And it wasn't just that people didn't have computers or adequate internet. It was also that people didn't know how to use the tools that we need today to be successful in a virtual environment. So really teaching adults and students cloud-based, tools, Zoom. I'm a parent in CMSD, and I'm telling you, there's probably 5 or 6 different portals and tools that they use to communicate with each other. So keeping up with all that. So I think that's something we all have to keep, is not just ensuring that we have adequate hardware, but ensuring that people know how to use these tools is important. The other thing is we can't take our eyes off of the mental health impact of the pandemic, but also that was there prior to the pandemic. So that the mental health part of all of our lives is important. And we're seeing that as employers, right? Where people want more balance and trying to figure that out. And we're seeing it with a lot of our students as well, is, how do you create that support system for them so that when, there's always challenges, but they're able to really address them in a way that allows them to be successful. So I would say those are a couple of the big ones I'm seeing.
So there is much development that's happening in the Clark-Fulton area, and there's a question around how you might be partnering in some of that development, specifically around the Central Villa 25 and some of the other work that's happening.
Yeah, so Central Villa is an exciting project that we've been, in conversations with for quite some time. We are not right now directly involved with it. We are growing ourselves, and which is we kind of see as part of the overall community vision. So very excited about Centro Villa, very excited about Metro Hospital, very excited about Julia de Burgos and their space, and the Pivot Center that's not too far from here. We're excited about the work our councilwoman Jasmine Santana is doing. So we're just grateful to be part of all of that great work.
So Victor, you look 5 years down the road. What's your vision for the work of Esperanza in our community, and how can those of us on the call support you to reach that vision?
Well, I think our vision is really, we know we have a model that's effective, and we also know that there's a lot more people that need to be served. So really just growing and going to those communities that really need us, not just in Cleveland, but also Northeast Ohio, and with the opportunities that have been created around virtual and remote work. How do we, we're pretty unique. When you look at Hispanic serving organizations, they tend to be very multi-service oriented. But, I think Cleveland's pretty unique because, I guess our founding families created organizations that focused in one area, arts, mental health, so forth, and education being one of them. So when you look at beyond Cleveland, there's the growth of the Latinx youth is just booming right now. And I think there's just opportunities for us.
Well, Victor, we have quickly come up on our time today. We thank you so much for sharing your work, your passion, and the impact in our community, and encourage everyone to follow up and learn more about the work of Esperanza. I'll be sure to share the website in our follow-up email. I'm going to turn it back to Marianne.
Thank you, Rachel. Victor, the work that you and your team are doing is absolutely amazing. We look forward to following you and continuing to celebrate all the great accomplishments in the years ahead. So thank you.